The alarm went off at exactly 6 in the morning. Commander Jake Morrison opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling of his quarters. Another day at Earth Defense Station, orbiting high above the planet. He got dressed in his uniform and walked to the command center with a cup of coffee in his hand. The command center was quiet. Only a few officers worked at their stations, checking readings and monitoring the edge of human space. Jake sat down at his desk and turned on the main screen. Nothing seemed unusual, just another normal Tuesday. Then the light on his console started blinking red. "Commander, we have an incoming signal," said Lieutenant Amy Patterson from her station near the wall. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "It's not from any human ship." Jake put down his coffee cup. "Where is it coming from?" "The outer marker, sir. Beyond our territory. It's using standard galactic frequencies." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Aliens rarely contacted Earth. Most of them pretended humans did not exist. 15 years ago, Earth had asked to join the Galactic Council. The aliens had laughed at the request. They called humans violent. They said Earth was a death world, too dangerous and cruel. They said humans were too aggressive to join peaceful species. "Put it through," Jake ordered. The speakers crackled with static. Then a voice came through, high-pitched and scared. The computer translated the words into English. "This is Ambassador Kaleith of the Vorn Collective. Please, anyone who can hear this message, we need help. Our worlds are dying. Our people are being killed. The Krynoth swarm has destroyed 17 of our colonies in 3 months. They keep coming. We cannot stop them. We have asked the Galactic Council for help, but they cannot fight. They do not know how to fight. Please, if there is anyone who can help us, we are begging you." The message ended. Then it started again from the beginning. It was on a loop, playing over and over. Amy turned in her chair to look at Jake. "Sir, the Vorns are the ones who voted against us joining the council. They said we were too primitive. They called us warmongers." Jake nodded slowly. He remembered. The whole world had watched the vote 15 years ago. Every alien species voted no. The Vorn's ambassador had given a long speech about how humans were not civilized enough. How Earth's violent history made humans unfit for galactic society. "Play it again," Jake said. They listened 3 more times. The fear in the alien's voice was real. Jake could hear it clearly. Ambassador Kaleith was terrified. "Get me everything we have on the Krynoth," Jake ordered, "and open a secure channel to Earth Command. The President needs to hear this." Amy's fingers flew across her keyboard. Data appeared on the main screen. Jake read it and felt his jaw tighten. The Krynoth were bad news. They were a hive mind, millions of creatures all controlled by a single intelligence. They traveled in massive bioships, living vessels grown from organic matter. They consumed everything in their path. Planets, ships, stations, even asteroids. They broke everything down and used it to grow more ships and more warriors. The Galactic Council had been fighting the Krynoth for 20 years. They were losing. The peaceful aliens had never seen anything like the swarm. Their weapons barely worked. Their tactics were defensive, designed to avoid casualties. The Krynoth did not care about casualties. They just kept coming. "Sir, I have President Carter on the line," Amy said. The screen changed. President Helen Carter appeared. She was in her office in Washington. It was still dark there, early morning. She looked tired but alert. "Commander Morrison," she said. "I heard the message. What do you think?" Jake took a breath. "Madam President, the Vorns are desperate. The Krynoth are going to wipe them out if someone doesn't help. But I have to say this. The Vorns rejected us. They insulted us, called us savages. A lot of people on Earth will say we should let them face the consequences." President Carter nodded. "I know. I have already heard from several senators who think exactly that. But here is what I think, Commander. The Vorns were wrong about us. They judged us by our history without understanding why we had that history. Yes, Earth is violent. Yes, we fought terrible wars. But do you know why we survived? Why, Madam President? Because when monsters came, we learned how to fight them. We did not run. We did not hide. We stood and fought. And now there are real monsters out there, killing innocent people. The Vorns may have been wrong about us, but that does not mean we should let them die. We are better than that. Jake felt something shift in his chest. Pride, maybe. Or determination. What are your orders, Madam President? I am authorizing full military mobilization. Get every ship we have ready. Call up the reserves. I want the largest fleet we have ever assembled. We are going to show the galaxy what humans really are. Not warmongers, not savages, protectors. Yes, ma'am. The screen went dark. Jake stood up and looked at Amy. She was smiling. We are really doing this? She asked. We are really doing this. Send a response to the Vorns. Tell them help is coming. Tell them to hold their positions and stay strong. Earth is coming. Amy typed the message and sent it. Jake watched the signal disappear into space, traveling faster than light toward the Vorns' worlds. He thought about what the president had said. Earth was violent. That was true. Humans had fought wars for thousands of years. They had developed weapons that could destroy cities. They had nearly killed themselves a dozen times over. But they had also learned something important. They learned how to protect. Captain Ben Rodriguez stood at the window of his quarters and watched the ships gather. Every few minutes, another vessel emerged from the orbital shipyards around Earth. Battle carriers as long as city blocks. Destroyers bristling with weapons. Strike cruisers built for speed and power. Support ships carrying supplies and ammunition. The fleet was growing. Ben was 42 years old. He had been in the military for 20 years. He had fought in the border wars when the outer colonies tried to break away from Earth. He had seen combat that would give most people nightmares. But this was different. This was bigger than anything he had ever been part of. His door chimed. Come in, he called. Lieutenant Chris Hayes entered. He was tall and thin, with red hair and a face full of freckles. He carried a data pad. Captain, final count is in. 73 ships confirmed and ready. All crews are at full strength. We are good to go. Ben nodded. How long until we leave? 6 hours, sir. Admiral Sullivan wants everyone in formation by 1400 hours. Good. Make sure all department heads report to the bridge for final briefing in 1 hour. Yes, sir. Chris saluted and left. Ben turned back to the window. 73 ships. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever put together. Before this, the biggest operation had been 40 ships during the border wars. This was nearly double that, and they were going to need every single one. Down in the hangar bay of the carrier EDS Fury, pilots ran their final checks. Lieutenant Nicole Grant climbed into her fighter and started the engine. The cockpit came alive with lights and displays. Everything showed green. Her fighter was ready. Nicole was 28. She had logged over 2,000 hours of flight time. She could fly in any condition, day or night, in atmosphere or in space. She was one of the best pilots in the fleet. But even she felt nervous. All pilots, this is Commander Tyler Brooks, a voice said over the radio. Tyler was the squadron leader, a veteran with 15 years of combat experience. Listen up. I know what you are all thinking. The Vorns rejected us. They said we were savages. They treated us like garbage. So why should we help them? Nicole listened. She had been thinking exactly that. Here is why, Tyler continued. Because we are not like them. When someone is in trouble, we help. That is what humans do. We do not let people die just because they were mean to us. We are better than that. And today, we are going to prove it. We are going to show the galaxy what humanity really stands for. Not revenge, not hate, protection. That is our mission. Protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if they do not deserve it. The radio went quiet. Then, one by one, pilots started acknowledging the speech. Nicole pressed her radio button. Red 3, acknowledged. She felt better. Tyler was right. This was not about the Vorns. This was about doing what was right. On the bridge of the flagship EDS Retribution, Admiral Kate Sullivan reviewed the tactical display. Kate was 55 years old. She had gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her uniform was crisp and perfect. She had spent 30 years climbing through the ranks, starting as a junior officer and working her way to admiral. She had seen humanity change over those 30 years. When she first joined, Earth was still recovering from the border wars. The military was small and defensive. Nobody thought about fighting aliens. They barely thought about fighting each other. Then came first contact. The Galactic Council appeared, full of advanced species that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. Earth sent diplomats and scientists. They thought it would be the beginning of a great partnership. Instead, they got rejected, insulted, mocked. Kate remembered watching the vote. She had been a captain then, commanding a small patrol ship. She watched the alien ambassadors vote one by one. No, no, no. Every single one voted no. Earth was not good enough. Earth was too violent. Earth was too dangerous. That had hurt. But it had also taught Earth a valuable lesson. If the galaxy would not accept them as friends, they would survive on their own. They built better ships, trained better soldiers, developed better weapons. They prepared for the day when they might have to fight alone. Now that day had come. Except they were not fighting for themselves. They were fighting for the species that had rejected them. Kate smiled. There was justice in that. "Admiral, all ships report ready," said Commander Ryan Foster. He was her second in command, a steady man who never panicked. "We can leave whenever you give the word." Kate looked at the tactical display one more time. 73 ships, thousands of soldiers, the best technology Earth had to offer. "Give the order," she said quietly. "All ships engage hyperspace drives. Destination Vorns Prime. Maximum speed." The fleet moved as one. Ships that had been drifting in formation suddenly blazed with light. Hyperspace drives powered up, creating bubbles of warped space around each vessel. One by one, the ships vanished, disappearing into the fabric of space itself. They were going to war. The journey would take 3 days. 3 days of traveling faster than light, crossing distances that would take years at normal speed. The crews used the time to prepare. Weapons were checked and rechecked. Battle plans were reviewed. Soldiers ran drills and simulations. In the mess hall of the Fury, Ben sat with his senior officers. They ate and talked, trying to stay calm. Everyone knew what they were heading into. The Krynoth were killers. They had destroyed 17 worlds. They did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They just kept coming. "Do you think we can win?" asked Lieutenant Danny Price. He was the chief engineer, responsible for keeping the ship running during battle. He was a small man with thick glasses and hands that were always covered in grease. Ben thought about the question. "I think we have advantages they do not expect. The Krynoth evolved to fight the Council species. Energy shields, plasma weapons, defensive tactics. We do not fight like that." "What do you mean?" Danny asked. "We use kinetic weapons, railguns that fire solid metal at incredible speeds. The Krynoth have never faced that. Their armor is designed to resist energy, not physical impact. And our tactics are aggressive. We do not sit back and defend. We push forward. We attack." "Sounds risky," Danny said. Ben smiled. "Everything about humans is risky. We come from a death world, remember? Risk is in our blood." The other officers laughed. It was a dark joke, but it helped release the tension. On the third day, the fleet prepared to exit hyperspace. All crew members went to battle stations. Pilots climbed into their fighters. Gunners manned their weapons. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Admiral Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the countdown. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. 1 second. The ship lurched as it dropped back into normal space. The view screen showed the Vorn's system. 3 planets orbited a yellow star, similar to Earth's sun. But something was wrong. The planets were surrounded by dark shapes, thousands of them. Bioships. The Krynoth swarm had arrived in force. "My God," Ryan whispered. "There are so many." Kate did not reply. She was counting ships, analyzing the formation, calculating odds. It was bad. The Krynoth outnumbered them 10 to 1. But Kate had not come here to run away. She had come here to fight. "All ships, battle formation Delta," she ordered. Her voice was calm and steady. "Carriers launch all fighters. Destroyers form screening positions. Let us show them what humans can do." The fleet moved into position. Fighters poured out of the carriers like angry bees. Destroyers spread out, creating. The first wave of Krynoth bioships came at them like a living wall. They moved fast, faster than the Galactic Council ships could manage. Their organic hulls pulsed and flexed as they accelerated through space. There were hundreds of them, each one the size of a small building. "Incoming!" Chris shouted from Tactical. 600 targets and closing fast!" Captain Ben Rodriguez felt his heart pound. 600 against 73 human ships. The odds were terrible. But humans had faced terrible odds before. "All railguns, fire at will," Ben ordered. "Target the lead ships. Make every shot count." The Fury shook as its railguns opened fire. These were not energy weapons like the ones the Council species used. These were physical weapons, launching solid metal slugs at incredible speed. Each slug weighed 20 kilograms and moved at 30 kilometers per second. When they hit something, they hit hard. The first volley caught the Krynoth by surprise. The metal slugs punched through their bio-armor like it was paper. Ships exploded, venting atmosphere and biological fluids into space. Others spun out of control, their organic systems damaged beyond repair. "Direct hits," Chris reported. 15 enemy ships down. But there were still hundreds more. The Krynoth swarm kept coming. They opened fire with their own weapons, biological projectiles that sprayed acid and toxins. The human ship's armor held, but just barely. "Hull breach on deck 7, shouted the damage control officer. "Sealing it now." Ben gripped his chair tighter. "Keep firing. Do not let them get close." Throughout the fleet, the same scene played out. Human ships stood their ground and fired. Railgun rounds tore through the Krynoth formation. Missiles streaked through space, detonating in massive explosions. The Krynoth had never faced weapons like these. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the tactical display. The Krynoth were taking heavy losses, but they were adapting. She could see them changing their formation, trying to spread out and surround the human fleet. "They are trying to flank us," Commander Ryan Foster observed. Kate nodded. "Let them try. All ships, rotate formation. Keep our heaviest armor facing their main force, and tell the destroyers to break formation and engage their flanking groups." "Yes, ma'am." 6 destroyers broke away from the main fleet. They were smaller than the battle carriers, but faster and more maneuverable. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city. They accelerated toward the Krynoth flanking groups, guns blazing. Lieutenant Nicole Grant watched the destroyers go past. She was in her fighter, part of a squadron protecting the carriers. Dozens of other fighters flew around her in tight formation. "All fighters, this is Commander Tyler Brooks," the squadron leader said over the radio. "New orders, we are going in. Target the medium-sized bioships. Use your missiles on anything bigger than a shuttle. Guns for the small stuff. Stay in pairs and watch each other's backs." Nicole pressed her throttle forward. Her fighter leaped ahead, the engine burning bright. Around her, the other fighters did the same. They dove into the swarm like predators hunting prey. The Krynoth fighters were smaller bioships, maybe the size of a car. They moved in strange patterns, jerking and spinning in ways that seemed random. But Nicole had been trained to fight unpredictable enemies. She locked onto one, waited for the right moment, and fired. Her guns spat bullets. The Krynoth fighter exploded. "Splash 1, she reported calmly. "Good shot, Red 3, Tyler said. "Stay sharp, there are plenty more." He was right. The Krynoth fighters swarmed around them like insects. But the human pilots were better. They had trained for years. They knew every trick, every maneuver. Where the Krynoth relied on numbers, humans relied on skill. Nicole destroyed 3 more fighters in quick succession. Her wingman, a pilot named Kevin Barnes, got 2 more. Together they cleared a path through the swarm. "This is easier than I thought," Kevin said over the radio. "Do not get cocky," Nicole warned. "They are learning." She was right. The Krynoth were adapting. They started working together, coordinating their attacks. 3 of them would gang up on a single human fighter, hitting it from different angles. It was more effective. "Red 7 is hit," someone shouted. "I am losing power." Nicole looked and saw one of their fighters spinning, trailing smoke. She turned hard, aiming for the Krynoth ships attacking it. Her missiles locked on. She fired all 4 at once. The Krynoth ships exploded. The damaged human fighter managed to stabilize. "Thanks, Red 3, the pilot gasped. "You saved my life." "Get back to the carrier," Nicole ordered. "We will cover you." The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides died. The space around Vorn's Prime filled with debris and wreckage. But slowly, the Krynoth advance began to stall. On the Fury, Ben watched his crew work with fierce pride. They were exhausted, they were scared, but they did not quit. The chief engineer, Lieutenant Danny Price, had pushed the engines to 120% capacity. That should not be possible, but Danny made it happen. "Captain, shields are failing on the port side," the tactical officer reported. "Rotate the ship," Ben ordered. "Put our starboard side toward the enemy, and get me a firing solution on that heavy biocruiser at bearing 270. "Solution locked. Fire!" A railgun round hit the biocruiser dead center. The massive ship shuddered, its organic hull rupturing. Green fluid sprayed into space. The ship tried to turn away, but another round hit it. Then another. The biocruiser broke apart. "Target destroyed," Chris confirmed. Ben allowed himself a small smile. They were winning. Against impossible odds, they were actually winning. Admiral Sullivan saw it too. The Krynoth swarm was breaking. Their formations were collapsing. Ships were retreating, trying to escape. The hive mind that controlled them was confused. It had never encountered an enemy like this. The Galactic Council species fought defensively. They avoided risk. They tried to minimize casualties. Humans fought differently. They attacked. They took risks. They pushed forward, even when it hurt. The Krynoth did not know how to handle that. "All ships, pursue," Kate ordered. "Do not let them regroup. Hit them while they are confused." The human fleet surged forward. They chased the retreating Krynoth, destroying ship after ship. The battle turned into a rout. The Krynoth that had seemed unstoppable just hours ago now fled in panic. Finally, after 6 hours of brutal combat, the last Krynoth ship jumped to hyperspace and disappeared. The space around Vorn's Prime was clear. Silence fell over the fleet. Everyone was too exhausted to celebrate. They had won, but it had been close. Several human ships were badly damaged. Dozens of fighters had been lost. Hundreds of soldiers were injured. Kate opened a channel to the Vorn's command center on the planet below. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your space is secure. We are establishing a defensive perimeter to prevent another attack." There was a long pause. Then a voice responded. It was Ambassador Kilith, the same alien who had sent the distress call. He sounded shocked. "Admiral Sullivan, we We do not know what to say. You saved us. The Krynoth have attacked us for months. Our own fleet could barely scratch them. But you drove them away in hours. How is this possible? Kate thought about how to answer. Ambassador, your species evolved on peaceful worlds. You never had to fight for survival. Humans are different. We come from Earth, a death world. Everything on our planet tried to kill us. Predators, diseases, weather, other humans. We learned to fight because we had to. And now we use that knowledge to protect others. But we rejected you, Caliph said quietly. We called you savages. We said you were not civilized. Why would you help us after that? Because holding grudges does not save lives, Kate replied. You were wrong about us. But that does not mean we will let you die. That is not who we are. Another pause. Then Caliph said, We were wrong. We see that now. We judged you without understanding. Your history made you strong, not weak. Thank you, Admiral. Thank you for proving us wrong. Kate closed the channel and leaned back in her chair. Around her, the bridge crew looked exhausted but satisfied. Ryan smiled. We did it. We actually did it. We did, Kate agreed. But this is not over. The Krynoth will come back. They always do. And when the conference room on the Retribution was crowded, Admiral Kate Sullivan stood at the head of the table, surrounded by her senior officers. A holographic display showed the star systems around Vorn's Prime. Red markers indicated Krynoth activity. They will attack again, Captain Ben Rodriguez said. He pointed at the display. Their pattern is always the same. Attack, retreat, regroup, attack again. Each time they come back stronger. Kate nodded. Then we need to hit them before they can regroup. That means going after their staging area. Commander Ryan Foster frowned. We tracked their retreat vector. They are headed to the Kilos Nebula, about 3 systems from here. But Admiral, that is deep in their territory. The Galactic Council has never attempted an offensive strike against a Krynoth stronghold. The Galactic Council does not come from Earth, Kate said simply. We are not going to sit here and wait for them to attack again. We are going to burn out the nest. Lieutenant Chris Hayes pulled up new data. Our sensors detected a massive energy signature in the nebula. We think it is their main staging structure. The Krynoth use these organic stations to coordinate attacks and grow new bioships. If we destroy it, we can cripple their operations in this entire sector. Ben studied the display. That is a bold move. How many ships do we send? 30, Kate said. The rest stay here to defend Vorn's Prime. I want volunteers only. This mission is going to be dangerous. There was a moment of silence. Then Ben spoke up. I volunteer the Fury and my crew. The destroyer Valiant is in, said Captain Lisa Morgan, a tough woman with short black hair and a scar on her chin. One by one, the other captains volunteered. Within minutes, Kate had her strike force, 30 ships, the best crews in the fleet. They would enter the Kilos Nebula, destroy the Krynoth staging area, and get out before the swarm could respond. It was exactly the kind of aggressive strategy that made the Galactic Council species nervous. But humans had learned long ago that sometimes the best defense was overwhelming offense. 2 days later, the strike force entered the Kilos Nebula. The nebula was a massive cloud of charged plasma and dust, glowing with strange colors. Inside, sensors barely worked. The charged particles interfered with almost every detection system. But human ships had been designed with redundant systems. When you grew up on Earth, you learned to plan for equipment failure. Hurricanes knocked out power. Earthquakes damaged sensors. Volcanoes filled the air with ash. Human engineers built ships that could function even when half their systems were down. Sensors are down to 20%, Chris reported from Tactical. But we still have visual and passive detection. Ben nodded. Keep us moving slowly. I want to see them before they see us. The strike force crept through the nebula like hunters stalking prey. The plasma clouds hid them, turning the ships into shadows. They moved in complete radio silence, communicating only with tight beam lasers that could not be detected from a distance. After 6 hours, they found it. The Kreenoth staging area. It was huge. A biological structure the size of a small moon, floating in the heart of the nebula. It pulsed with sick green light. Thousands of bioships surrounded it, drifting in orbit like antibodies protecting a wound. The structure grew new ships constantly. Ben could see them budding off the main mass, small at first, then growing larger. "That is disgusting," Lieutenant Danny Price muttered. "That is our target," Ben corrected. "Chris, analyze that structure. Find me a weak point." Chris worked quickly. "The central core has the highest energy readings. If we can hit that, the whole thing should collapse." "But Captain, there are a lot of defenders. I count over 300 bioships in immediate orbit." "Then we better make this fast. Open a channel to Admiral Sullivan on the Retribution." Kate's face appeared on the screen. She was still back at Vorn's Prime, commanding the defensive fleet. "Captain Rodriguez, what do you have?" "We found the staging area, Admiral. It is big, really big, and heavily defended, but we have a plan." "I am listening," Ben explained quickly. The strike force would divide into 3 groups. The first group would create a distraction, drawing the bioships away from the staging area. The second group would attack from a different angle, using the confusion to get close. The third group would deliver the killing blow, heavy missiles aimed right at the core. Kate listened carefully. "It is risky. If you get surrounded, you will not be able to escape." "We know, Admiral. But if we do not try, they will rebuild and attack Vorn's Prime again. We need to take the risk." Kate studied his face. Then she nodded. "Do it. And Ben, come back alive. We need good captains." "Yes, ma'am." The channel closed. Ben turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral? Let us make this count. All ships execute plan on my mark." The strike force split up. 10 ships, led by Captain Lisa Morgan, moved to the far side of the staging area. They broke radio silence and activated their active sensors, making themselves visible. The Kreenoth responded immediately. Bioships swarmed toward them like angry bees. "Phase 1 complete," Lisa reported. "We have their attention." Ben watched the tactical display. Half the bioships were chasing Lisa's group. That left the staging area less defended. "Phase 2, go!" Another 10 ships, led by Commander Tyler Brooks, accelerated from a different direction. They came in fast, weapons firing. Railguns tore into the remaining bioships. Missiles detonated in rapid succession. The Kreenoth defenders tried to respond, but they were confused. Attacks from 2 directions at once was not something they expected. "Phase 3, Ben said quietly. "All ships arm heavy missiles. We are going in." The Fury led the final group. 10 ships, carrying the most powerful weapons in the human arsenal. They burned through the nebula at maximum speed, heading straight for the staging area. The Kreenoth finally realized what was happening. Bioships tried to intercept them, but Ben's group had momentum. They crashed through the defensive line, taking hits but not stopping. "Fire!" Ben shouted. Every ship launched its missiles at the same moment. Dozens of warheads streaked through space, all aimed at the central core of the staging area. These were not normal missiles. These were thermobaric weapons, designed to create massive overpressure waves. On Earth, they were used to clear caves and bunkers. In space, they would rupture the organic structure from the inside. The missiles hit. The staging area shuddered. Cracks appeared in its surface. Green fluid leaked out. Then the secondary explosions began. The structure was full of volatile biological chemicals. When they ignited, the entire thing went up like a bomb. The explosion was massive. It lit up the nebula like a small sun. The bioships around the staging area were caught in the blast. Dozens of them disintegrated. Others spun away, badly damaged. But Ben had another surprise. Lieutenant Sam Carter, The weapons officer on Captain Lisa Morgan's destroyer Valiant had been monitoring the nebula's composition. He realized the charged plasma was highly reactive. If you hit it with enough energy, it would ignite in a chain reaction. "All ships, fire plasma torpedoes into the nebula," Lisa ordered. The torpedoes detonated, superheating the plasma around them. The plasma ignited, creating a wave of fire that spread through the nebula. It engulfed hundreds of Krynoth bioships, burning them to ash. The Krynoth swarm panicked. Their hive mind had never experienced anything like this. The coordination broke down. Ships scattered in all directions, trying to escape the flames. "Target destroyed," Chris reported, his voice shaking. "Admiral, the staging area is gone, completely destroyed." Ben let out a breath he did not know he was holding. "All ships, form up. We are getting out of here before they recover." The strike force regrouped and jumped to hyperspace. They left behind a nebula full of wreckage and dying bioships. The Krynoth had been dealt a massive blow. When they returned to Vorn's Prime, the fleet was waiting. Admiral Sullivan met them in the hangar bay. She looked at Ben and smiled. "Well done, Captain. You just did something the Galactic Council said was impossible. You hurt the Krynoth." Ben saluted. "Just following orders, Admiral." 3 weeks after the battle, Ambassador Khalith stood in the United Nations building on Earth. It was his first time visiting the human home world. The building was old by galactic standards, made of stone and metal instead of advanced materials. But there was something solid about it, something that spoke of strength and determination. Khalith was nervous. He had spent years saying terrible things about humans. He had called them savages, warmongers, too violent to join civilized society. Now he was here to apologize and ask them to join the Galactic Council. The assembly hall was full of human leaders from every nation on Earth. They watched him in silence. Khalith could feel their eyes on him. He took a deep breath and began his speech. "People of Earth," he said, "I stand before you today with shame in my heart. 15 years ago, I voted against your admission to the Galactic Council. I gave a long speech about why humans were not ready. I said you were too violent, too dangerous. I said your history of war made you unfit for galactic society." He paused. "I was wrong, completely, utterly wrong. When the Krynoth came to destroy my people, the Galactic Council could not help. We tried, we sent ships, but we did not know how to fight. We had lived in peace for so long that we forgot what war meant. My people were dying, and we were helpless." Khalith looked around the room. "Then you came. You did not hesitate. You did not demand payment or favors. You just came, and you did not just defend us. You went on the offensive. You did something we thought was impossible. You hurt the Krynoth. You made them afraid." He bowed his head. "I judged you by your history without understanding it. Yes, you fought wars. Yes, your world was violent, but that violence made you strong. It taught you to protect the weak. It taught you to never give up. Those are not the traits of savages. Those are the traits of heroes." The room was quiet. Then President Helen Carter stood up. She walked to the front and faced Khalith. "Ambassador Khalith," she said, "we accept your apology. You were not the only one who rejected us. The entire Galactic Council voted against Earth. That hurt, but we did not help you to get revenge for that hurt. We helped you because it was the right thing to do, because when people are in trouble, you help them. That is what good people do." Helen turned to face the assembly. "Earth accepts the invitation to join the Galactic Council, but we join as partners, not conquerors. We will defend those who cannot defend themselves. We will stand against tyranny and oppression. And we will show the galaxy that strength and compassion are not opposites. They are two sides of the same coin." The assembly erupted in applause. Khalith felt tears in his eyes. His people were saved. And more than that, humanity was joining the galactic community. The Deathworlders were no longer outsiders. At Earth Defense Command, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the ceremony on her screen. Beside her, Captain Ben Rodriguez reviewed new fleet deployments. "The Council wants us to establish joint training programs," Ben said. "They want their militaries to learn human combat tactics." Kate smiled. "That is going to be interesting. Most of their species have never experienced real warfare. They are in for a shock." "Do you think they can learn?" Ben asked. "I think they will have to. The Kreenoth are not going away. And there are other threats out there. The galaxy needs to learn how to defend itself. Who better to teach them than us?" Ben nodded. "What about the Kreenoth? Do you think they will try again?" "Eventually," Kate said. "The hive mind is patient. It will wait, watch, learn. Then it will come back. But next time we will be ready. And we will not be alone. The Council is finally waking up to the threat. They are building better ships, training soldiers, preparing for war. When the Kreenoth come back, they will face a united galaxy. Led by humans," Ben added. Kate smiled. "Led by humans who learned how to fight on a world that tried to kill them every day. The Kreenoth picked the wrong species to mess with." Across human space, the news spread quickly. Earth was now part of the Galactic Council, not as junior members but as protectors. The species that had once rejected humanity now looked to them for defense and guidance. Lieutenant Nicole Grant sat in her quarters on the carrier Fury, writing a letter to her mother back on Earth. "Mom," she wrote, "you were right to worry when I joined the fleet. You said the galaxy would fear us because of our history. But I have learned something important out here. They do not fear us. They respect us. They understand now that our violent past was not a weakness. It was preparation. Everything we went through on Earth, all the wars and struggles, it taught us how to protect others. And that is what we are doing now. We are the shield between civilization and chaos. I cannot think of a better purpose for humanity." She sent the letter and looked out the window at the stars. The galaxy looked different now. Not threatening, but full of possibility. Humans were no longer alone. They had allies, friends, people who depended on them. In the Senate chambers of the Galactic Council, the vote was taking place. Every species had a representative. They voted one by one on Earth's membership. "The Vorns vote yes," Ambassador Keyleth said firmly. "The Trell vote yes. The Borvon vote yes." One by one, every species voted yes. The vote was unanimous. Earth was granted full membership in the Galactic Council, but they were given a special title, something no other species had ever received. Protectorate of the Galactic Peace. It was more than just membership. It was recognition of what humanity represented. They were warriors, defenders, the ones who stood between the innocent and the darkness. Commander Jake Morrison watched the vote from Earth Defense Station. Lieutenant Amy Patterson stood beside him. "We did it," Amy said quietly. "We are finally part of the galactic community." Jake nodded. "But this is just the beginning. The Council accepted us, but now we have to prove we deserve this trust. We have to show them that humans can be both warriors and peacekeepers." "Do you think we can?" Amy asked. Jake thought about the question. He thought about the battle at Vorn's Prime. He thought about the strike force that destroyed the Kreenoth staging area. He thought about all the humans who risked their lives to save people who had rejected them. "Yes," he said, "I think we can. Because that is what humans do. We survive, we fight, we protect, and we never give up." The weeks turned into months. Human ships began patrolling the outer territories of the Galactic Council. Wherever there was danger, humans responded. Pirates attacking trade routes found themselves facing human destroyers. Slavers trying to raid colonies encountered human strike teams. And the Kreenoth, whenever they tried to probe Council space, found human fleets waiting for them. The galaxy was changing. The peaceful species of the Council were learning from their human partners. They built stronger ships. They trained soldiers. They prepared for threats instead of hoping threats would go away. And at the center of it all was Earth. The death world that had been rejected now stood as the protector of an entire galaxy. The species that had been called too violent was now the shield that kept violence at bay. Ambassador Calith returned to Vorn's Prime. His people were rebuilding the colonies that had been destroyed. Human engineers helped with the work, sharing their technology and knowledge. Calith watched them work and marveled at the change. A year ago, he would never have believed this possible. Humans and Vorns working side by side, warriors and pacifists learning from each other. It was everything the Galactic Council should have been from the beginning. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the tactical display. The galaxy was at peace for now, but she knew it would not last. Threats were always out there, waiting in the darkness. The Kreenoth would return. Other dangers would emerge. But Kate was not worried. Humanity had spent millions of years surviving on a world that tried to kill them. They had fought through wars, plagues, natural disasters, and near extinction. They had learned lessons that no peaceful species could understand. And now those lessons would protect the galaxy. The message Earth sent was clear and simple. To their allies, we will stand with you. To their enemies, test us at your peril. To anyone in need, call for help, and we will answer. Because that was what humanity did. They survived. They fought. They protected those who could not protect themselves, even if those people did not deserve it. Even if those people had rejected them. That was the true strength of humanity. Not their weapons or their ships. Not their tactics or their technology. Their strength was their willingness to do what was right, no matter the cost. The Deathworlders had returned from war, not as conquerors, but as heroes. And the galaxy would never be the same. In the darkness between stars, any species that threatened the peace now faced a terrifying truth. Earth was watching. The warriors from the Death World stood ready, and they would not tolerate tyranny. The age of humanity had begun, not with conquest or domination, but with the simple act of helping those in need. And that, more than any weapon or fleet, was what made humans truly unstoppable. They had fury, they had strength, but most importantly, they had compassion. And that combination was the most powerful force in the galaxy. No, Kate said. You did more than that. You showed the galaxy that humans do not just defend, we attack. We take the fight to the enemy. The Kreenoth are going to think twice before attacking anyone under our protection now. She was right. News of the battle spread quickly through the Galactic Council. The species that had once rejected humanity now looked at them with new eyes. The Deathworlders had not just defended the Vorns. They had gone on the offensive and won. The Kreenoth swarm pulled back from the sector. The hive mind was learning. Humans were different from other prey. Humans fought back. Humans were dangerous. And for the first time in decades, the Galactic Council had hope. Maybe the Kreenoth could be stopped after all. If anyone could do it, it was the warriors from the death world called Earth. They come. We need to be ready. She was right. The Kreenoth hive mind was vast. This swarm was just one part of it. Somewhere out in space, the hive was regrouping, planning, learning. But Kate had a plan, too. The Kreenoth had never fought humans before. They did not know what humanity was capable of. They thought this was just a defensive fleet, here to protect the Vorns. They were wrong. Kate had not come just to defend. She had come to attack. And she was going to show the Kreenoth swarm what happened when they messed with a species from a death world. The Deathworlders were going on the offensive. A wall of armored ships between the carriers and the enemy. The Kreenoth noticed the new arrivals. Their bioships began to turn, reorienting toward the human fleet. They were massive things, organic and alien, covered in bone-like armor and pulsing with unnatural life. "Here they come," Chris said from his station. Ben gripped his command chair. All hands, brace for combat. This is going to get rough. The battle was about to begin. He weak. How to stand against bullies. How to fight when fighting was necessary. The Galactic Council had rejected Earth because they did not understand. They thought violence was always wrong. They thought warriors were the same as murderers. They had never lived on a world where nature itself tried to kill you every day, where predators hunted in the night, where storms could level cities and diseases could wipe out millions. Earth had taught humans to be tough, to be strong, to never give up. And now those lessons were going to save the Vorns, whether they deserved it or not. Within hours, the orders went out across all of human space, every military base, every shipyard, every training facility. The message was clear and simple: mobilize for war. The aliens had begged for help, and the Deathworlders were going to answer.